Perfect.
All right. So, dear devotees, thank you all for being here today. As usual, today our speaker is Her Grace ACYUTA Gopi Devi, and she will be helping us to absorb ourselves in the nectar of Shri Krishna. So, without further ado, I'm going to put the verse on the screen, and then Mother ACYUTA, you take it over from here. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Hare Krishna. So good to be with all the devotees once again. Speaking with Prabhu, saying it feels like it's been such a long time. Has been several months. So I'm really glad to be back.
Looks like the previous PowerPoint.
Jai.
All right.
All the devotees once again. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from SRIMAD Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, Text 37. Yudhishthirastat parisarpanam buddha pure charastre chagrihe tatatmani vibhavya lobhan ritajimahinsana dhyadharma chakram gamanaya paryadat. Translation. Maharaj Yudhishthir was intelligent enough to understand the influence of the age of Kali, characterized by increasing avarice, falsehood, cheating, and violence throughout the capital, state, home, and among individuals. So he wisely prepared himself to leave home, and he dressed accordingly. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The present age is influenced by the specific qualities of Kali. Since the days of the Battle of Kurukshetra about 5,000 years ago, the influence of the age of Kali began manifesting. And from authentic scriptures, it is learned that the age of Kali is still to run on for 427,000 years. The symptoms of the Kali Yuga, as mentioned above, namely avarice, falsehood, diplomacy, cheating, nepotism, violence, and all such things are already in vogue, and no one can imagine what is going to happen gradually with further increase of the influence of Kali till the day of annihilation. We have already come to know that the influence of the age of Kali is meant for godless, so-called civilized man. Those who are under the protection of the Lord have nothing to fear from this horrible age. Maharaj Yudhishthir was a great devotee of the Lord, and there was no necessity of his being afraid of the age of Kali, but he preferred to retire from active household life and prepare himself to go back home, back to Godhead. The Pandavas are eternal companions of the Lord, and therefore they are more interested in the company of the Lord than anything else. Besides that, being an ideal king, Maharaj Yudhishthir wanted to retire just to set an example for others. As soon as there is some young fellow to look after the household affairs, one should at once retire from family life to uplift oneself to spiritual realization. One should not rot in the dark well of household life till one is dragged out by the will of Yamaraj. Modern politicians should take lessons from Maharaj Yudhishthir about voluntary retirement from active life and should make room for the younger generation. Also, retired old gentlemen should take lessons from him and leave home for spiritual realization before being forcefully dragged away to meet death. Translation once more. Maharaj Yudhishthir was intelligent enough to understand the influence of the age of Kali, characterized by increasing avarice, falsehood, cheating, and violence throughout the capital, state, home, and among individuals. So he wisely prepared himself to leave home, and he dressed accordingly. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. This verse I find is really, really interesting for many, many reasons. For one, before the Pandavas retire, we have a section of Srimad Bhagavatam where Vidura is chastising lovingly his brother Dhritarashtra for not retiring. We see a stark contrast between someone eager to hold on and the Pandavas who are ready to let go, ready to surrender. And the difference is those who come under the shelter of Krishna. Dhritarashtra was thinking he had gotten everything by his own toil, merit, hard work, his own intelligence, character, strength, whatever it was. And so he needed to hang on to that for dear life with everything he had. Consequently, Vidura arrives as his well-wisher and gives him some really harsh truths. He gives him some tough love. And he tells him many things like, your liver is failing. Your heart doesn't work the same way it used to. Your body is falling apart. Your eyesight was already gone. Right? Never had that. So we see that there are many, Sachinandan Maharaj calls them notifications from Yamaraj, the god of death. You ever get those notifications from social media and you understand that things are happening on your phone? Sometimes you have to mute the notifications. So he says, Sachinandan Maharaj says, likewise, we get notifications from Yamaraj that death is imminent or approaching. Sometimes we get loss of hearing. Sometimes we see that our eyesight starts to fail. The teeth become kind of loose. We can't remember things as sharply as we used to. The gray hairs start to arrive. The wrinkles start to set in. Things start to sag in various unpleasant places. All kinds of things happen. And these are our notification bells that start to come in from Yamaraj that, okay, this life is temporary. But is it supposed to be fearful? For Dhritarashtra, who was simply depending on himself, it was extremely fearful. But Srila Prabhupada wisely points out that for the Pandavas and for Yudhishthira Maharaj, they have nothing to fear because they understand that this idea of even being closer to death also means we get closer to Krishna. We are supposed to be getting closer to Krishna, using every opportunity to get closer to Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj wisely says that, and Srila Prabhupada always quotes that old or young simply means how close one is to death. So sometimes we have no idea. Someone could be 5 and be old because we have no idea when that life is over. Someone could be 80 and still be quite young with 20, 25 more years to go. So we have no idea when this death is coming. And this is why Srila Prabhupada says we practice. We are in constant practice, a spiritual practice where we try and prepare ourselves for those moments. We try and get closer to Krishna at every moment. We try and remember this example of Yudhishthira Maharaj every day. Even though, and even while, we are still maintaining our lives. So we have to strike the balance between understanding that each day, each moment, we are getting closer to death, but also not living so fearfully that it stops us from actively participating. I also find this verse quite interesting because we are always in the midst of problems. There are global problems, governmental problems. Anyone in the United States and around the world, everybody is facing these global dilemmas and all of these things. And it is a symptom not just of Kali Yuga, but of the material world. Sometimes as spiritual warriors, and I've been diving back into the Spiritual Warrior series by His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and I love how he would address often those in the audience as my dear spiritual warriors, my dear fellow spiritual warrior. So it is so important for us as spiritual warriors to understand which battles to fight, and when sometimes we need to step back and take stock of what we have in our own arsenal. What spiritual weapons do we have within the arsenal of the heart? Because if we don't take stock of our weapons, we will find ourselves depleted. We will find ourselves tired, burnt out, dragged out, and coming back from that is much harder, much more difficult. So within this verse, I see so many wonderful principles and guidelines. Yudhishthira was an amazing, amazing king. And under the guidance of Sri Krishna, he was brought to amazing, incredible heights. Ruler of the world. Kings from all over were brought and gladly under his subjugation, willing to surrender their loyalty to Maharaj Yudhishthira. Srila Prabhupada wisely states why. Why was Yudhishthira brought to such a grand scale? Because Krishna wanted the world to be ruled by his devotees. That was Krishna's desire. So for all of us who think that Krishna simply wants us to live in poverty and never wants us to have anything nice, never wants us to be leaders, never wants us to be in positions of power because we should be meek and humble, and that is the idea of service, here is presented a very different example. Maharaj Yudhishthira and his brothers were administrators, kshatriyas, leaders, game changers, right? Global changers. And they did this as a service with the humility and tolerance that comes with leading as a service. So not only within our spiritual communities, but outside of that, we may find ourselves in leadership positions. And we can ask, how do we serve? How do we use that to serve in a Krishna conscious way? What does that actually mean to serve in a Krishna conscious way? Is our material position outside of our Krishna consciousness? Or can it all be brought forth and be spiritualized within our lives? I think that we can definitely try and strike a balance. All of our spiritual acharyas have told us that everything can be spiritualized if we have the will and the desire and the fortitude of heart. If we have the ability to surrender to what Krishna might desire from us. Within Krishna book and within the trajectory of the Mahabharata, there's a king named Jarasandha. Now we've heard about Jarasandha because he was very determined. He was going to be determined to somehow defeat Krishna and Krishna's army, which was kind of impossible, but he was going to try 17, 18 times. If only we could be that determined with our spiritual lives, with our japa. Each round, I am now determined to get Krishna's attention. Okay, maybe it didn't work that last round and maybe my mind got my own attention. Let me try again this next round. He had such strength of determination and he was constantly endeavoring. He was often thinking about how to defeat Krishna's army. He was not successful. Finally, he wanted to perform a huge puja to Lord Shiva. And he was going to sacrifice kings. So he would go and defeat and kidnap and abduct thousands of kings. Finally, when Krishna brought the wonderful idea to Bhima and Arjuna, let's go and challenge this Jarasandha, because he wanted Yudhishthir Maharaj to become the emperor of the world and perform the Rajasuya Yajna. In order to perform this Rajasuya sacrifice, he had to gain the loyalty of all the kings of the world, and this Jarasandha was standing in their way. So wisely they sought counsel from Krishna. Krishna said, let us all go and speak to Jarasandha. Bhima, spoiler alert, does defeat Jarasandha with the help and the counsel once again of Krishna. The Pandavas were unable to do pretty much anything without the counsel of Krishna. And when it seemed as though they acted outside of the counsel of Krishna, because we understand that all of these things are happening for a greater purpose, it seemed like the times when they acted outside of the counsel of Krishna, it was a dice match where their lives were gambled away. So this is what we can think of for our lives. We have an advisory council. We have a spiritual cabinet as leaders, as trusted stewards of spiritual knowledge, of spiritual leadership. We have a spiritual advisory committee. We have Srila Prabhupada. We have our gurus. We have Krishna. We have Krishna's entire entourage. We have SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. And therefore, we have a lineage of kings. We have Maharaj Ambarish. We have 12 Mahajans. Right? We have Bali Maharaj. We have all of these great kings with all of this wisdom and knowledge ready to be our advisory committee. If we do not take advantage of that, we see what happens. We see how we could make a misstep and somehow gamble away our very lives. So when we see that we are acting outside of the shelter of Krishna's protection and surrender, we could gamble away everything that we hold dear. But when they were acting within the bounds of Krishna's counsel and advisement, they were brought to such amazing, incredible heights. So they defeat Jarasandha. And then Krishna frees all of the kings that were in captivity. Krishna book states there were hundreds of thousands of kings. And Krishna speaks to them. These kings begin to glorify him with poetic verses, which I think is wonderful because these kings were not sitting around studying poetry. They were rulers and administrators and warriors, and they would practice battle every day, strategy, politics. But in the presence of Krishna, poetry flowed forth naturally, in the most loving manner. They said we've had to make our livelihoods by causing violence to others and witnessing violence between others. What kind of a life is that? It has been abominable, but this is what we've had to do as rulers. O Krishna, what do you suggest? Krishna, in all of his wisdom and supreme compassion, does not tell them, quit all your day jobs, renounce everything, go to the forest, become rishis. Krishna tells them, I have a very specific task for you. Go home. Go back to your homes and rule your kingdoms well. Rule them expertly. All I ask is that you tell others about me. Tell others about what has happened here. Srila Prabhupada states that in this regard, all of the kings followed Krishna's advice, and in this way, Krishna consciousness was spread all over the world at that time. So Krishna understands that there is a time for us to be leaders. Sometimes there's a time to take up these battles. Sometimes there's a time to make those harsh, hard decisions. Sometimes there's a time to understand the politics of life. But he also understands that we can do that as a service. How do we do that as a service? Rule well, with integrity, character, determination. But also, tell everyone you meet about Krishna. Even if that's just by being the most righteous version, with compassion, with kindness at heart, so that people wonder, that person over there is an exceptional leader. And somehow they've been able to hold it all together when everyone else is thinking they're so depressed and in anxiety with worry that they want to end their existence. I've got to figure out what's making them so grounded. It becomes so attractive as a personality. Krishna's mercy looks so attractive on us that other people will want to know what makes you the way you are. And then we can hit them with the good stuff. Well, I have a spiritual practice that keeps me grounded. I have a spiritual practice that keeps me sane. And then we're able to preach with compassion and love instead of weaponizing a philosophy that is built on devotional love. And we're also able to give solace to the hearts and minds of others because everyone needs it. If we understand anything from this purport, is that the influence of Kali is everywhere. No one is exempt. It just depends on how we deal with it, how we deal with those influences upon us. Duryodhana was actually a partial manifestation of the age of Kali. So it's not only that at that time, the age of Kali was rearing its head. It was making an appearance even within Duryodhana. Also, we see that the influence was growing. Right? We see growing, gradually increasing, which means that those negative characteristics like avarice, greed, diplomacy, all of that had actually been there already. If we look at so many stories from the Vedas, we will see all of these things. Nepotism. We have so many ideas and so many stories of kings who allowed one child to become the next ruler. We have the idea of King Uttanapad and Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva's brother Uttam was going to inherit everything and be the next one. Why? Because the king had a favorite wife. We had some really interesting Vedic nepotism happening. And this is not Kali Yuga. This is yugas before. This is Maharaj Uttanapad, who is the grandson of Lord Brahma. We have Daksha, a Prajapati, who is looking with eyes of greed, covered over by so much, unable to see the glory of Lord Shiva, even up to the point where he insults his own father. He says, this creator, Lord Brahma, told me I should give my sweet-natured daughter Sati to this uncouth, unclean, outcast. He's insulting him. So we see this infighting between family members. This was not Kali Yuga. These are celestial beings at that even. We see that Hiranyaksha is greedy, plundering the earth till it falls out of orbit. Also not Kali Yuga. So now what exactly are we looking at? And also, it behooves us to really check ourselves when we start to say, oh, Kali Yuga, we have it so bad. All these things. There are people who have had it worse. And previous yugas. We do not have torrents of blood and pus raining from the sky as a bad omen for things to come. And consequently, we don't have that, and I don't think we're built for that. Us Kali Yuga folk are very, very fragile. We're not even built to handle hearing about all of the misdeeds that are happening around the world. We hear about, oh, there's a fire over here, there's a flood over there, there's a tornado over here, there's a tsunami over here, there's people put in prison over here, there's atrocities happening over here, there's oppression happening over here, and we crumble. We crumble immediately. Oh no, I can't take it. I have to turn off TV and I have to go to sleep and I have to figure it out. Now, oh, I can't take it. My heart is too overburdened. I can't listen to it all. We are very fragile. Previous yugas, they'd have issues much worse. The earth falling out of orbit. That's an issue. Everyone was suffering. But they knew exactly what to do to combat that suffering. They surrendered quickly. Everybody ran. Help! We need a supervisor. And then that deity supervisor would go to their supervisor, who would eventually say, okay, this is above me. I have to go to Lord Vishnu. They surrendered. They knew when to surrender. We have an issue. We don't know when to surrender. We keep thinking, I can handle it. I can handle it. I can handle it. I got this. I'm in control. I have the power over this. We need to learn when to surrender much quicker. Even in this verse, Yudhishthir knows when to surrender. Okay, I've ruled. I've done the things for my time. It's time to go. Knowing when to back out of these situations. Knowing when to focus on the spiritual solutions only. Knowing when it's time to stop fighting the material world battles because the material world is always going to be what it is. It is a place which is a decorated prison. And the key is that we can get out of it. We don't have to dedicate our entire existence to continuing to try and fix this broken prison system. It is made to be broken. Why? Because we are not meant to maintain our existence as eternal living entities, spirit souls, in this material, temporary, broken system. But we do need a place where we can say, I want to feel like I'm in control. Krishna, out of his loving, compassionate heart, says, okay, I'll give you a place where you can feel like you're in control. Krishna knows the anxieties and the worries and the sufferings that we are going to go through even before we go through them. And it is absolutely heartbreaking. But because Krishna also loves us so much, he will honor our desires. He says, okay, I'll allow you to have the illusion that you are in control. So you need an illusory place where you can feel in control. So we have this illusory place. All of these things are happening. And because it is temporary, things are breaking down. The more that things break down internally and externally. It's only going to get worse. It wasn't ever really better. Even when Krishna walked the earth, and he was walking the earth time and time again because things weren't getting better. We think, oh, it's just Kali Yuga, all these problems are happening. Why would Krishna have to appear millennium after millennium? Millennium after millennium. He says, not just this one. Every yuga, every time there are these hard-hitting issues, Krishna appears. Because it doesn't get better. We think it gets better and then it gets worse. We think it gets better and then it gets worse. Because this is the material world. Things break down. It is temporary. We are not. We are not temporary. We are eternal spirit souls who are actually meant for love, compassion, these spiritual values. So Yudhishthira Maharaj wisely knows when to walk away. And the Pandavas also know when to walk away. We should take this as a guiding light and a wonderful, beautiful example. We can begin to understand when to walk away. When it is time to allow the next generation to step up. We can allow the next generation to come into their own. I find it so interesting that Srila Prabhupada says, old gentlemen can also understand when to walk away. And I feel like everywhere, everywhere. And that applies to everyone, government officials, because we're very eager to be like, yes, down with the government. They should retire and let new people in. Breath of fresh air. Temple presidents, leaders of spiritual movements, even kirtaniyas. At some point, we're all going to have to understand when to step aside and allow the next generation to really step up. Allow them to come into their own. Srila Prabhupada was empowering young people everywhere. And he would say, I'm an old man. You all do it. He would go to many places and preach. And he would ask Yamuna Devi, you give the lecture. She's thinking, Srila Prabhupada, but you brought me here. What do you mean I should give the lecture? You give the lecture. You lead the kirtan. You make the program. Srila Prabhupada came and gave a blueprint and a formula and then said, now you do it. Somehow or other, we cling tightly to our idea of control. We are still fumbling and struggling with how to let go of that control, how to surrender. Sometimes we think, well, I haven't gotten my due. I didn't get my time in the spotlight yet. Now that I've just gotten it, you expect me to let go and surrender? Yes, unfortunately. And it doesn't mean that we become obsolete. But if we are able to surrender, I feel as though that is when Krishna is able to use us better. Once we are able to surrender that control, that clinging to all of this power, then we become the elders of community. We become the keepers of stories. We become those who pass down the legacy. So we are still leaders. When we surrender, we think we are losing something, but really, Krishna sets us up in a position where we never lose. We actually only gain more and more benefits. But our mind will illusion us to tell us, if you let go, if you surrender, you will lose everything. Hold on tight to it with everything you have. You can't let anybody else come in and gain the upper hand. This is the principle of this dog-eat-dog world. Because we'll never be able to get to the top. There will always be someone achieving more. Someone who has more followers. Someone who has better content. Someone who has it easier. Someone who has a better grasp of the philosophy. Somebody who has more money, more whatever it is. We'll never be able to reach the top and then stay there. And consequently, because of that, we won't be able to maintain our peace. That surrender is the key to maintaining peace. That surrender to Krishna's desires is the key to becoming a spiritual leader. It's the key to tapping into leading with humility, grace, tolerance, compassion, righteousness. All of those things that Krishna speaks about within Bhagavad Gita. All of the characteristics of great souls, I feel as though it begins with surrender. Rupa Goswami writes about the qualities of a devotee. And in writing about the qualities of a devotee, the crest jewel of all of those qualities, a devotee's Swarupa Lakshana, is that the devotee is willing, ready, and completely understands that they are under the control of Krishna. They're completely dependent on Krishna. Crest jewel of all the qualities is the understanding that I'm dependent on Krishna, and the willingness to be dependent on Krishna. Because when Krishna takes control, we have situations like Bali Maharaj, who gained a kingdom more beautiful than the heavenly planets. Dhruva Maharaj, who gained a kingdom that was more permanent than anything else in this universe. Yudhishthira Maharaj, who got the entire kingdom of the world, because that's what Krishna wanted for his devotees. This is what Krishna wants for his people. And we can have faith in that. We should have faith in that. And while having faith in that, we can surrender. We can step back. The renunciation comes naturally. And then we are able to lead by encouraging the next generation. As you all have so wonderfully done, even with me. As I remember Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj fondly, lovingly doing with me. All of the things that I thought, I'm not really good enough to do these things. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj would somehow clear a space in the middle of big areas. There would be a kirtan. And he would clear a space in the middle of the kirtan. Deprive someone else of a mridanga. Hand me the mridanga and say, okay, go, do your thing. Me, I was terrified. But the hallmark of a spiritual leader is that they are not afraid of encouraging the next generation. Srila Prabhupada would say he would pray that one of his disciples would become an even better devotee than him. Now one might think, but this is a pure devotee. How are you thinking that someone should be better at preaching, become a more pure devotee, become closer to Krishna than you? Don't you lose out? No. That kind of encouragement and surrender never has us losing out. That kind of surrender brings a flood of Krishna's mercy. So Srila Prabhupada would pray, let my disciples become better than me. Let them become more knowledgeable than me, more learned than me. Then this mission is successful. Even just one of them. to have the presence of heart to understand that this is not mine. Krishna's mercy does not simply belong to me. Krishna's mercy is the birthright of every single spirit soul. Bhakti Maharaj would lovingly encourage others to become great, even greater than him. Become leaders, become experts in your field. He would encourage people. You don't have to quit your day job. Don't. Become such an expert. Have those characteristics of such a wonderful leader that people are magnetized. They gravitate towards you and they just want to know, how are you doing this? Then you preach. And then we see how such a flood of mercy came into the lives of these great acharyas. So many of the Mahajans are rulers, family people, not all renunciates. So they had to balance their work, home, life, relationships. They had to balance all of that and their spirituality. They were able to see their spirituality and they were able to see their material lives as an extension of that spirituality. They were able to understand that I can act with integrity and character, and that is an offering to my Supreme Lord. No matter where we are and in whatever position we find ourselves, street sweeper, window washer, anything, up to a high-ranking government official, we can lead by example with character and integrity. And that can be an offering. It becomes an offering, it becomes preaching, it becomes all of the above. Which leads us into Gundicha Marjan. Gundicha Marjan is such a wonderful example of this. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. Understanding that Lord Jagannath is coming to this temple. Lord Jagannath will come here for a respite. He will come here for some rest and relaxation. He will come here to accept the love of his devotees. Let us clean this place. And so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not say, oh, devotees, you clean the place, I will supervise. Tells them, no, bring buckets, bring water, bring cloths. I will clean with you. In fact, he's the most enthusiastic one to clean. And they clean the entirety of the temple. And he says, okay, bring more buckets, let's do it again. He would create a transcendental competition between devotees. How much dirt can you pile? How much can you clean? Let us see who can clean the most. And I guarantee you, now let me clean more. And in this transcendental competition, he would bring up we have the famous moral that all of that dirt, how we clean that Gundicha Marjan, is how we clean the temple of the heart, readying for our Lord to be there. A few days ago was the celebrated disappearance of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and so you'll find that I'm just going to be bringing him up so much because Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj once had a series of lectures called Srila Prabhupada is Coming. And he would encourage us to think, how would we act in our daily lives if we really felt Gurudev is coming? Tomorrow Gurudev is coming. You ever have an instance where your Gurudev comes to your house? You clean everything. You get under tables as though Gurudev will be looking under those tables and looking to find the dust. He's not, but you do it on the off chance that maybe he'll look into the corner and see the skeletons in the closet. You clean out everything. And then you go back, you look again. You make sure all the books are in order in the library. You make sure your deities look pristine. You make sure your japa looks good. It's hanging in a prominent area, you know. Guru Maharaj, I've chanted. You make sure everything is nice, is beautifully, sparkling clean, and in the right place, so that when Gurudev comes, he sees the best of you. He says, we should be like this in our lives. We should take stock often. Srila Prabhupada is coming. What will he see? Are we cleaning out the cobwebs? Are we chanting with that same enthusiasm? Anybody else feel like you hear your Gurudev is coming, you start chanting your japa a little bit better? Because then when he sees you and he looks at your face, you don't want him to really see down in there that we've been struggling this whole time, Gurudev. We start chanting a little bit better, with more attention, with more focus. So that when he asks you, if he asks you, how's your japa? How's your sadhana? You, very good, Gurudev, very good. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. We start trying to read a little bit more. We start trying to formulate those intelligent sounding questions in our minds, you know, so that when the lecture comes and Gurudev's giving, like, we can ask those intelligent questions. We start taking stock. This was what it was like for Gundicha Marjan. This is what that lecture series was trying to get across. Srila Prabhupada is coming. Gurudev is coming. Whether it be in a dream, whether it be in a book, whether it be in a lecture, Gurudev is coming. What will Gurudev see when he looks into my house? What will he see in my heart? Let me chant with some enthusiasm. Let me pronounce this Mahamantra a little better. Let me try and not get to a place where Gurudev is looking in my face and all he sees is the struggle. And not like the struggle, you know, there's outside obstacles, the struggle of my own mind where I just am apathetic about my devotional service. The struggles where we know what we should be doing and we're just lazy. I want to see that I want Gurudev to know if I am struggling, it is in spite of me trying my best. I don't want him to see that I'm just struggling because I'm lazy. So this is Gundicha Marjan. Are we cleaning out the temple of the heart? Do we believe Krishna's coming? Do we believe we can pull Jagannath there? My mom likes to say, we preach this whole thing about having faith in Krishna, believing in Krishna, but do we actually really believe? If we believed, we would act like it. So sometimes I have to take stock. Do I believe? Am I acting like I believe in Krishna and his mercy? Am I chanting? Am I reading? Am I listening? Am I taking care of my spiritual health? Have I gone to the spiritual doctor? Am I deficient in my spiritual vitamins? Well, what would I do if it was my body? I would take it seriously. People would say if you get too many vitamin deficiencies, it'll do weird things to your kidneys and your livers and all the things, and you'll develop all of these ailments. And so a person, oh, okay, well, then we believe. We start taking the vitamins. We do the things. We go out into the sun so we don't get the seasonal depression. We do all the things. Why not like this with our spiritual health? Srila Prabhupada says if we chant our 16 rounds, we follow the 4 rules and regulative principles, we can be protected from the spiritual deficiencies that will come within the age of Kali Yuga, the dangers. Do we believe? Or do we think, it'll be all right. I'll be fine. One day missing it won't do a big deal. What's the worst that could happen? We are living through what is the worst that could happen. Sometimes we think, what's the worst that could happen? Well, if I don't chant, I might lose my wealth. I might lose my family. I might lose my comfort. Sometimes we are chanting just to upkeep the comforts. But that's not the worst that could happen. We are currently living through the worst that could happen. The worst that could happen is if I don't chant, my mind will convince me that I'm far away from Krishna. My mind will convince me that there is this deep separation from Krishna. The worst that could happen is that we decide to leave Krishna's association again. Srila Prabhupada said that we were once in Krishna's association. How that happened, when that happened, if we did and if we didn't, has no bearing on the fact that now we are outside of that association. That is the worst that could happen. That somehow we could think, I want to be in charge. I want to have that power and hold on to it for dear life till the end of my days, till I'm forcefully dragged away. Because when that happens, Krishna says, okay. He is reciprocal. If we want to get closer, he says, okay. But if, Krishna forbid, we come to that conclusion again that I don't need you. I want to go away from you. Furthermore, I don't even want you to remind me. I don't even want to know that you existed. Krishna will say, okay, my dear, because I love you, I'll give you what you desire. So these are the dangers that we are protecting ourselves from. This is why we clear out the heart. This is what we're trying to protect ourselves from. Not so much that, all the sins and all that. Yeah, okay, that happens. But what's the worst that could happen? We perpetuate this existence of, I want to be away from Krishna. I don't want to be away from Krishna anymore. I don't want to hold on to the illusion of power until I'm dragged away forcefully by death. I want to learn quick like Yudhishthira Yamaraj, to surrender. I want to learn to cleanse the temple of my heart, as all of the devotees did with Gundicha Marjan, and I want to believe I am pulling Krishna here. I am making my heart the most beautiful abode for you, my Krishna. Jagannath is full of love. He is a complete manifestation that is Krishna filled up to the brim, to bursting with love. His eyes get wide in excitement because of love. His arms shrink up into his body with love. He is so excited. Krishna loves to be loved. And I don't ever want to forget that. Surrender helps me not forget. As Srila Prabhupada says, the process does work. Chanting, following these regulative principles helps me to remember. I am a soul currently going through rehabilitation. Spiritual rehab. I'm in it. How many days can I stay on the path? And then let us congratulate and encourage one another. We need these spiritual rehab meetings where people come up and they say, my name is ACYUTA GOPI. I've been chanting for so and so many days straight now. We should applaud each other. Congratulations. This is glorious. Or where we can come together and be vulnerable. My name is ACYUTA GOPI, and I was chanting concurrently for this many days, and then I had a relapse. And we say, no problem, we're here for you. What can we do? Let's chant together then. Let's start day one again together. where we don't have to hold on to it like, well, that person's been chanting longer than you, so I guess you're just that much more fallen and you're on your own. Spiritual life is about community. We are all in spiritual rehabilitation. We can't do it without our doctors. We cannot lead without our advisory committee. We cannot make it without each other. So we should be able to lovingly encourage one another. Yes, become a leader. Yes, take up this process. Yes, let's see how far you can go. We should be excited for one another, because this helps us to remember, I don't ever have to be away from Krishna ever again. This material world will have us thinking we're always far away from Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada says, whenever we are chanting, whenever we are reading, whenever we are hearing in these assemblies, we are in the presence and the association of Krishna. Do we feel it? Can we believe it? Because that is the sweetest and safest place to be in all of creation. We can invoke the presence of Gundicha Marjan every day in our lives. Prabhupada is coming every day. Gurudev is coming. How is Gurudev coming? We've invoked Gurudev. We've said these Guru Pranam mantras. We are invoking the presence of our Guru. So now our Guru is here. How do we act? Are we able to surrender, or are we clinging tight to the illusion of control and power till we are dragged forcibly? I thank you so much for encouraging me and asking me to be here again and again, to be in the presence of all of you wonderful devotees, and to be in the presence of such wonderful gurus and our Sri Krishna. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mother ACYUTA Gopi. You reminded me so much of my Gurudev today in your class, not only because you referenced him many times, but most importantly, stylistically, because I remember like Dr. Yamaraj, my Gurudev, when he would give lectures, when he would give class, without a sheet of paper in his hands, he will recap everything he said in the class, like the highlights of his class. And you did exactly that. It's amazing. I mean, I know my Gurudev does that, and I've been wanting and desiring to do that, but I've not been able to. So it's so interesting to see you do it. And at this point, I will ask the devotees to kindly unmute and ask questions, share realizations, comments. There are so many important things, Mother ACYUTA Gopi, you hit on, and I'm actually lost as to what angle I should ask my question from, because there are so many important salient points you highlighted, more especially this tendency of lording it over material nature. It's so difficult that even sometimes we may wear the saffron cloth and carry the danda, but lording it over is still there. It's so difficult. So actually, my question is about the Gandicha Margan. Our Lord Chaitanya encouraged all the devotees to engage in cleaning the temple because the Lord was coming the following day. And you rightly indicated that temple should be our heart, that it should be cleaned and cleansed every day, because we are anticipating that the Lord is coming anytime. We do not know exactly when he's coming. It could be any day. Now, my question is, how do we keep that notion or attitude that the Lord is coming, and I have to make sure that everything is paka clean? You know, you were talking about Guru Dev visiting and you want to clean everything. And I was laughing to myself because when we first moved to where we are now in Harrisburg, some of my godbrothers were visiting me from Gita Nagri, and I can't forget that day. We cleaned and cleaned and cleaned, and we remembered Gurudev. Says, wow. Well, I said, this is not Gurudev. Why we keep cleaning, cleaning, cleaning? But it's a nice idea. So my question is, how do we keep that attitude that it should be every day, not only when we know for sure that the Guru is coming? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, that's like, how do we keep our enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness? How do we keep our japa from getting stale? How do we keep that sense of urgency even in our lives? How do we get into a position where, like, okay, we understand, we look at a place that's gotten dirty and we think, okay, we've got to clean it before an emergency happens. And you don't want to wait for the fire to break out and then think, oh, I should have cleaned it. Or a flood happens, and you've got to clean everything to make sure that people can come in and fix it. You don't want to wait until that happens. But it is difficult to drag the self to keep that sense of urgency and to do those things. I feel as though there's two ways. One is, of course, our own endeavor. So constantly inviting these mindsets in. Everybody is very much about speaking affirmations. And we have had affirmations all along. This Hare Krishna movement is a movement of affirmations. They might be in a different language, but they are there. This Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is an affirmation of, oh my Lord, please accept me. Oh my Lord, use me in your service. Oh my Lord, oh my friend, just hear me, love me. So we can use those affirmations daily. Krishna is coming. Krishna is coming. Krishna is coming. And he was saying we should tell ourselves every day, Prabhupada is coming. And if we tell ourselves every day that Prabhupada is coming, we start to see Prabhupada's mercy entering into our lives. We start to see how it correlates. But also, when Krishna sees that we have a desire to keep the heart clean and re-clean the heart, there will be circumstances. Krishna is an expert at changing up our situations. Sometimes we think, how do I stay urgent in my Krishna consciousness? And I'm like, don't worry, Krishna will help you. He helps all of us. All of the situations that come upon us, we think, oh, I don't want that. But if we use them as opportunities to chant deeper, better, more intensely, we are actually doing the thing. We are staying encouraged and eager and urgent in our Krishna consciousness. This is why Kunti Devi says, let the calamities come again and again. Because people are wondering, how do we stay? Let the calamities come again and again. Because every time there was a calamity, you also appeared, Krishna. And I saw you face to face. Krishna's coming. So whether good times or bad, we can think Krishna's coming. If there is a good time and we are so eager and joyful and happy, then we can think Krishna is coming. Let me invite Krishna in to celebrate with me. If there is a bad time, then we know Krishna's coming because he's coming to save me, because I'm going to pray like my life depends on it. So we have to run to prayer. And that is how we keep our urgency. Happiness or distress, because it will come. Regardless of whether we want it to or not, it's going to happen. Prahlad Maharaj says, do we ask for fever? His friends say no. So then how does it come? We don't know. Material nature. The happiness and distress is coming anyway. If we can maintain the mentality of Krishna is coming, through both happiness and distress. That is the key to equipoised equanimity that Krishna speaks so highly about in Bhagavad Gita. I say this simply. The practice is difficult. The practice it's simple, not easy. So simple, such a simple fix, It's like, how do we remain eager and urgent? You run to prayer at every moment. When we're running to prayer, though, it feels heavy. I was speaking with my Guru Maharaj recently, and he said, there will be tests from material nature and from Krishna. And it's not a test unless it feels like you are being tested. And so, you think, oh, that was a test. I got over that. That was easy. It's like, that wasn't the test. The test is coming. It's not a test unless you feel tested. He said Krishna would transcendentally stress his mother out every day in new ways. It's not stress unless she's stressed out. So she would figure out a way to deal with her little boy the day before. So he has to try something else. It's not anxiety unless we feel it. Nityananda Prabhu even said famously to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu once, he said, "Oh my Lord, you are fond of troubling your very own people. And so why should I be surprised that I feel troubled by the orders that you are giving me?" Ever feel like that in our lives? Oh Lord, I'm feeling troubled by the orders that you're giving me. But that right there, he has appeared in our lives. Krishna has given us some orders. Krishna is here. One wonderful thing that I want to point out about Gundicha Marjan is that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not come and say, "Oh, this temple is dirty. How could you?" He expected the temple to be dirty. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expects that there is dirt in the temple of the heart. He speaks about it. Right? Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Right? Cheto Darpana Marjanam. It's cleaning the mirror of the heart. This chanting of the holy name is cleansing the mirror of the heart. He expects that there's going to be dirt. Gurudev, Shri Krishna himself, they know that the dirt is there. They don't condemn you for the dirt. They simply encourage you to clean it now. So I really, really love that even he was in transcendental competition. I will clean more dirt. What dirt how could Mahaprabhu have? But he understands. And in the mood of a devotee, he's understanding, no problem. There's dirt there. Okay. Now what do we do with it? We're in this material conditioned way of life. Okay. Now what do we do with it? Mahaprabhu is constantly saying, we are conditioned, we are conditioned, we are conditioned. How does that conditioning happen? Through lifetimes of practicing the material mindset. So now we're going to have a lifetime of practicing the spiritual mindset. Practice, which means you are going to stumble. It's not going to be perfect. It's a spiritual practice. Srila Prabhupada would say that habit means practice. We are building spiritual habits. And likewise, in the pastime of Damodar, right? 2 fingers too short means we have our own endeavors and Krishna's mercy. How can we stay urgent and eager and enthusiastic? Our own endeavors. And then there's Krishna's mercy. Krishna's mercy looks like those things that come upon us. They're a little uncomfortable, but if we run to prayer, then we find the mercy. A flood of it, actually. Krishna's just waiting for us to tap into the flood. That's all he wants. And to know that we're going to do it eagerly. He's dramatic like that. Otherwise, why else would you call gopis in the middle of the night? Leave your homes, your families, your reputation, all things. Leave it behind. You get to the forest. He says, "Why'd you come?" "I was just playing my flute. I didn't think I was calling you." That's offensive, number one. And then when they get there and they've given their all and they say, Krishna, we've given it all just for you. He says, okay. And then disappears, heightening the mood, as our spiritual acharyas say. So now when he goes and he heightens the mood of our lives, which is transcendental speak for stressing us out, then we should understand that Krishna's flood of mercy is also coming. If we are able to run to prayer in those moments where we are transcendentally stressed out, Krishna says, you purchase me completely. Are we willing to pay the price? And all we have to do is be there, right? Krishna's not saying, oh, be there and don't cry and don't doubt and don't do. We're going to cry and have doubts and have issues and anxieties and worries. He doesn't say do that. He says, just offer it to me. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away in charity, whatever you think, offer it to me. So it's natural for us to be in anxiety when the stresses come. Doesn't mean we're not enthusiastic. When we run to prayer and we say, okay, fine, Krishna, I'm in anxiety, but I'm offering it to you. It's yours now. Help. Krishna says, I was waiting for you to ask. Take me, all of it.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for that beautiful answer to my question. I was reminded of something I learned from my GPS when you were talking about Lord Chaitanya was not blaming people that, hey, why is the temple room dirty? He just engaged them in cleaning it because he knew that it was going to be dirty anyway. So I realized when I'm using my GPS and I know the direction, I know the route, but the GPS is taking me to a different route. And I ignore the dictation of the GPS. The GPS never insults me. The GPS never chastises me or scolds me. Hey, you crazy, why did you move this direction? Yeah. I asked you to take care now. So I think if we can imbibe such a mood, just correcting and encouraging people, I think that would be amazing. So thank you for sharing that. Kavikanapu Prabhu, please unmute.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Mataji. Though we miss the other days you were not around to give us your nectar. You know,
Tell her more about it.
You know, so we really miss those days, you know. So please always try to come to encourage us, you know. We always enjoy your discussion. Yeah, very wonderful. So my question is the mercy of the Lord. Because sometimes we don't know. Some devotees, they have stayed so many years in the movement, and sometimes you see them complaining. Is it that they have not gotten the mercy of the Lord, or what is wrong with such devotees? Keep on complaining about the movement and whatever is going on in the movement. That is number one. Number two is how can we recognize the mercy of the Lord? How can we recognize the mercy of the Lord? Because many a times, we tend to be whimsical to get this mercy also. Like you were giving an example of a Gudisha Marijan. There are two points I want to bring out from this the relationship between Lord Chaitanya and this devotee who was washing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feet, and he was drinking the mercy. In his mind, he's trying to get the mercy of the Lord, but the Lord, you know, chastised this devotee, and not only chastised him, he referred to him in the way we will say, maybe is he racism or racist, or trying to identify with his body. You know, he called his senior devotee. He said, what is wrong with this, your Bengali devotee? You know, he looks like Chaitanya is like, you know, like it's just like somebody say, what is wrong with these African devotees? You know, you feel, oh, this is racist. You know, you look like racism. You know, so in this devotee mind, he's trying to get the mercy of the Lord, but the Lord was not happy with such habits. And also the other point is many times devotees, they are put in so different this situation, even though they have served the movement for many years, and they could not recognize the mercy, and they start complaining. So how can we recognize the mercy of the Lord? And how can we know when we are acting whimsically to get this mercy also? Thank you.
Yeah. It's so interesting to look at so many different things that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has done. They can appear very contradictory, isn't it? He's the Lord of the universe, but how can he see someone according to a bodily designation? But then, at the same token, he can uphold Haridas Thakur, and it would be seemingly as though he would, from a different, like, how do we reconcile all of these things? What I love about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was that he would see within the heart of every single living entity. I mean, it's one of the perks of being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He would see within the hearts of every single person and would speak or bring out that thing that needed tweaking within them, even when it seemed as though they were just trying to serve. There was a situation, a devotee was trying to get the association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu was not eager for this. Finally, he said, tell him, he will see me after 10,000 births. 10,000, which seems like an insult, right? Wait 10,000 births then, fine. When they told the devotee was jumping for joy. And they were flabbergasted. What? Why are you so happy? And he just kept saying, I will see, I will see. I will see my Lord. He promised me, I will see, I will see. He didn't focus on the number. All he focused on was the enthusiasm that the Lord told me I will see him. I will gain his association. Mahaprabhu's heart was sold by the reaction. Fine, bring him now immediately. He becomes the example. How do we get the mercy of the Lord? By focusing on the goal. We will see that there will be infighting. There will be insults. There will be disagreements. There will be obstacles and reversals. There will be hatred. There will be all the things, duplicity. If we are able to focus on the goal, that is what changes people from just people going through things into examples. Krishna loves to use those people as examples. Okay, now look. Prahlad Maharaj could have been a backstory for revenge. Right? You look at all these superheroes, they have their origin stories and messed up things happen to them. And now we see everybody's talking about their trauma and all that. Prahlad Maharaj had trauma. This little boy was abused and his life was threatened time and time and time and time again. He could have asked for revenge. Lord Nrsingadev says, ask for anything. He says, well, don't be angry with my father. Deliver him. Lord Nrsinga says, already done. Ask for something personally for you. Then just let me never forget you. Never let me forget your love for me. If we focus on the goal, it turns from problematic situations that have happened to us and trauma into mercy. Just as heavenly and hellish conditions are also a mindset, mercy can also be a state of mind. Establishing this Vrindavan Dham within our minds and within our hearts, can we find Krishna in the situation? Oh no, everything is going wrong in my life. What am I supposed to do? Well, this is giving me an opportunity to pray and chant more. Sometimes you think, I've lost a job. Now there's nothing I can do. What if Krishna is giving you the opportunity to chant more? What if while looking for the job, we thought to ourselves, you know what, first I'm going to increase my chanting. Let me increase my japa. Not just 16 rounds a day, 32 rounds a day, because now I don't have the job demanding 8 hours. And while I look for the job, let me chant this and then see how Krishna's mercy unfolds in my life. It is mercy we have grown. If we get despondent, though, and we allow it to drag us away from Krishna, then we are constantly in the grips of the obstacle. Srila Prabhupada speaks about it. Krishna speaks about it. Those who have taken shelter of me are no longer under the grasp of material nature, who is a very fierce mistress. They are now under my divine protection. Maharaj Yudhishthira was able to let go because he was under divine protection. Srila Prabhupada says that those under divine protection have nothing to fear from this Kali Yuga material world, nothing. Does that mean that bad things won't happen? No. But what does it mean to be under the protection of Krishna? Think of me. Become my devotee. Offer your prayers to me. This will save you from the most dangerous type of fear. Sri Krishna says, in this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on the path. I say this because, I feel like in my mind the question comes up, but what? Those are pure devotees. What if I'm not a pure devotee? Exactly. Krishna doesn't tell you, be a pure devotee, then I'll protect you. Krishna says a little advancement on the path is enough to save one from the most dangerous type of fear. This is mercy. So the mercy, we can judge the mercy on the outcome. If we have been chanting for 40 years and we are miserable, we need to figure out what is happening in the process. Are we chanting with belief? Are we chanting with our hearts? Are we chanting with duplicity in mind of being able to tell people, oh, I've chanted such and such amount of rounds and I am this kind of disciple? It won't taste the same. It will still protect us because we have no idea how many miserable situations we were supposed to be in our lives. The chanting will protect us. But if it's making our hearts miserable, then we have to check in and find out where the duplicity is there. Are we eager and determined where if Krishna says, okay, you'll see me, but not yet. We are just focused on, I will see. My Lord said, he promised me he would protect me. Are we looking at these obstacles that come into our lives and saying, okay, Krishna, I'm just waiting to see how you're going to pull me out of this one because this is difficult. Krishna's mercy is coming. Krishna's protection is coming. Do we have that firm belief like Prahlad Maharaj? If not, then we wind up 40 years down the line saying, to hell with all of this. This is ridiculous. The system, the organization, the chanting, the Krishna, the whole thing, it can burn to the ground. In fact, let me help burn it to the ground. Or do we see that, wait a second, Krishna is giving me an opportunity to see his mercy differently. My Guru Maharaj happens to be very, very savvy with that. He sees that there can be a host of problems in this one area. And he will look at that and say, well, there's no problems over there and those people really need you. He's looking for mercy. He is eager to not be bitter. I want to be determined to look for mercy and determined to not be bitter. I want to be determined to be enthusiastic and say to my Lord stubbornly, I will see. You promised. I hope that answered all the questions.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mother ACYUTA. Wonderful. Mother ACYUTA, if you haven't considered this, I would unqualified way ask encourage you to look into becoming a formal counselor, because you would be a very, very good counselor. You're really good. Thank you. Shri Prema, please. Good to see you, brother. Unmute.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Chita, Hare Krishna. Good to see you on the field. Well, thank you so much. And for a wonderful touching, like my God brother, senior God brother said, you know, try to be a counselor. The choice of words and how you put in it is beautiful. Thank you. And my question partly is answered from the answers that you were giving to my brother, Kavikanapura's question. I will focus on the goal. And the example that you used in connection with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when they say, okay, you'll see me for a long time. And he said, yeah, my Lord said, I'm going to see you for a long time. But he was happy. So, as a great Kirtaniya, how do we channel this in our Kirtan Sangha? To focus on the deeper meaning of chanting of the holy name, the goal. How do we extract that nectar?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that during the 24-hour kirtan.
Okay.
Firstly, one of the best ways, if you are a kirtaniya, one of the best ways to focus on the goal of the holy name is to be in many, 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 many kirtans where you are not leading.
Okay.
Be there as a support. Force yourself to be there as a support. And force yourself to be there, especially when you don't agree.
Okay.
You ever get those kirtans and you're like, oh no. You're like, I should just get out of here. When the mind comes in with that, and then you force yourself to stay and say, wait a second. Was I here from my own ego? Was I here because it is even part of a nice egoistic response to support the good people? Or can I be here and look at this person is dressing the deity of the holy name?
Okay.
How do I help? And I was there, and not this particular kirtan, but I've been in other kirtans with people whose mindsets and views I don't even agree with. There are sometimes I look and I'm like, I don't even agree with the way you approach Krishna consciousness. And I've sat in those kirtans and thought, and now what would I be if I walked out? How can I help them serving the holy name? I may not even agree with the way they're addressing the deity of the holy name, but can I hand them ornaments? Can I just clean a little bit on the side? As a person who is also a pujari, I've been there in times where you see people and they're dressing the deity and you're looking and you're like, oh, that turban's good. Oh, well, okay, well, let me mind my business. And then you go on the side and you organize the jewelry, or you clean, or you do whatever you have to do, because it's service. So am I looking at my kirtan as service? Not just my kirtan. Kirtan as a movement. If Mahaprabhu were here, if I had the right vision, if I am seeing Mahaprabhu right here, right now, no matter what that other person is doing, how would Mahaprabhu want me to react? So firstly, to be in many, many kirtans that are not your own is a very teachable moment. Teaches you about who you are. Helps you learn, look in the mirror of who am I as a devotee. So the longer that we're there, the more that we will see the goal. And then we can think about our mindsets. What are we thinking of when we're chanting? What are we focusing on? Do we have an idea? Do we have a pastime? Even if we don't have a pastime, do we have something as simple as, I'm going to go find Krishna. I was at Govinda Maharaj's home in Vrindavan, and he sat me and my nephew Keshava down, and he asked us, he said, I want to ask you guys something. What do you guys think about in Kirtan?
Okay.
And I said, sometimes, Maharaj, sometimes there's a pastime, something. And my nephew said, I like to think of us as secret agents. We both looked at him. He said, I like to think of us as secret agents, and our mission is to catch Krishna. And sometimes we have to pass covert messages to one another. Oh, Krishna's there, you can catch him. But we can't do it on our own. It's a collective mission. We all have to rely on each other. Okay, now you go that side, I'll go this side, you come that side, and then we'll all surround him, and then we can catch Krishna. He says, I kind of like to think of us as secret agents. And we both really enjoyed that answer. What an adorable, loving, exciting, adventure-filled answer. That now we can engage one another. You come in from this side, you come in from that side, you come in from that side, you come in from that side. We'll surround him because he's slippery. Krishna is fond of covering himself in butter. Just when you think you catch it, he's slippery. So we need surrounding from every angle. We need to make sure that we catch all the contingencies. Because he's thinking, well, if my devotee comes this way, I'll go that way.
Yeah.
So if we can think about it and engage one another, it becomes the most wonderful adventure that we've all gone on together. And it makes our relationship with one another deeper. Having gone through this mission together, lovingly.
Yeah.
And then really, truly, we will see Krishna. So all of those things. And lastly, I was kind of looking at these kirtans, and I was up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning because they had some of the younger people singing. And I was in kirtan, and recently I had seen there were some senior devotees thinking and saying, you know, why can't this new generation just focus on the simpler melodies? Srila Prabhupada didn't give us all of this. Srila Prabhupada wasn't singing these complex melodies with all these alaps and all of these things. Why can't you just focus on why can't you just be simple? Why do you have to be so complicated? And in my mind, that idea came up. And I was listening to a boy sing, and he was 16. And the melody he was going in and out with notes and all kinds of things. And I was thinking, just look at how much you've grown. And then I was thinking, why does it have to be so complicated? And I realized it's because this generation doesn't think that is complicated. That's not complicated for them. They've got the system updates already. They're light years ahead. They come equipped with the operating system that we had to work to get to. For them, they're not trying to make it complicated. They don't realize that this is complicated. It's complicated for us because we're operating at other operating system. We need a system update. We need a whole app restart. We need to refresh our systems. And that shouldn't feel like an attack on us. We should be able to encourage them. Yes, go further. I understand. You're starting out where I left off. I worked hard to get to this point. You're starting here. No problem. Go further. Get deeper with the melodies. Use every bit of your voice. No problem. Sure. Sing longer. And so I thought to myself, and I prayed, I said, let me never become fearful hearing them becoming better than me. Let me encourage them, because that was the mood of Janavamata. The Shakti of Lord Nityananda, that was her mood. So I said, then Janavamata, Nityananda Prabhu, let me never become afraid. Let me always want to encourage them, because I feel like that's how to access your mercy.
Thank you so much, Mother ACYUTA. I was blown away by the answer that the devotee gave, that going in as a secret agent.
He's good, right?
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool.
So good.
He's too more than too good. Wow. Wow. Thank you for
Sorry.
sharing that, brother.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The answer that our sister gave from that secret agent, that guy,
Yeah.
when he leaves Kirtan, you
Yeah.
can see the mood of the Kirtan. You see, I'm watching everything. I'm asking this question because I'm seriously frustrated in some area of Kirtan,
Yeah.
which is making me, I'm even planning to sell my accordion by next month just to stop street harina, because you know me, I'm used to good street harina. Street harina means soul shaking harina. We are representing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the street. It's not like a sleeping kirtan, and it's painful that when you go on Harinam and while others are singing, you put in all your energy to keep the kirtan going because people are looking at them. We have to represent Srila Prabhupada, the ISKCON. People need to see. If we want to sleep, we can sleep at home, but not to disgrace ourselves in public, and
Yeah.
it's difficult. Sometimes I want to walk away, and sometimes I'm there, and you're pumping the accordion, and everybody is busy on their phones, and people are playing the characters, their body and soul and mind is not there. I'm not used to this. Avikanapura, he's laughing. He knows what I'm talking about. I'm not used to this thing. So I feel like to just give up here in Europe. This arena, it's difficult. It's an ego to me, but I think it's something that I'm thinking of, even to sell my accordion.
Well, as a big brother, I can tell you for sure that you will be very crazy to do that, because we don't do things based on what others say or do. We do things because we know this is the right thing to do. And like Mother ACYUTA has been saying, it's going to be difficult. Krishna told us, did I ever tell you that it's going to be easy? It's not going to be easy. So I understand what you feel, because I also like kirtan. Sometimes you ecstatically engage in kirtan, and some people even block their ears as if you're disturbing them. But we shouldn't let those things disturb us. Like Mother ACYUTA rightly said, we go in as a secret agent, and then we look for people with the same mentality and attitude. We're definitely going to have one or two people who have the same mood. So we have to keep moving on. Sri Kavi, please unmute. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I actually I want to appreciate Mother ACYUTA Gopi for the first answer she gave, and the example she cited was so touching that although I've heard this story before, but when she make reference to that, it went so deep into the heart, about this devotee, Mukunda, I think it's Mukunda. When Chaitanya Prabhu, it was said that Chaitanya Prabhu told him after many millions of births, and he was very happy that he's going to meet the Lord. That's is very touching, because that shows faith, that he has faith that he's going to meet the Lord. And I think if I can get that kind of signal from the Lord, I will be. If I have such faith, I will be very happy that I don't care how many births I take, as long as I'm going to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is such wonderful example you gave, my mother. I just want to appreciate that I should try to focus more on that, getting the mercy of the Lord. It doesn't matter how long or when or how, you should just try to get the mercy of the Lord. I just want to appreciate that example was very touching. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you so much.
we got the signal. We've all got the signal. Kavi Karnapur Prabhu, you have been named Kavi Karnapur Prabhu.
Very big name.
Okay, it's a big personality. He had Mahaprabhu's toe in his mouth. Prem Samputa Prabhu, you've been named Prem Samputa Prabhu. This is Radharani's box of all of her love that is secret and hidden, that she then takes the contents out slowly and tells Krishna, look, you think you've got something about love. Let me tell you what is in my chest, my treasure chest. You've been named after Radharani's secret treasure chest of love that even Krishna doesn't know the contents are inside. So we've got a signal. Our Gurudevs, Mahaprabhu has said, you will see me. I didn't give you this name for no reason. I didn't make this connection for no reason. Srila Prabhupada says, if you have come into this Krishna consciousness, you have made this connection, it is the result of lifetimes of tapasya. We've now got a signal. And now we don't even have to wait 10,000 births. Srila Prabhupada said, you could do it in this one. And we so stubborn, we're fighting against it. No, I don't know. I still want to be in charge. I don't know. I can't do this anymore. I can't do the things. But yeah, it doesn't get easy. In regards to it not being easy, you want to know about some ungrateful behavior. Krishna built a Dwarka, moved everybody to Dwarka in their sleep so as not to inconvenience them, set them up with palaces. Every home was a palace. Made them opulent, protected them, gave them wealth, gave them his constant association. And at the first sign of trouble, the same citizens turned around and said, Krishna must be a murderer. I heard he had a situation with that Satyajit's brother, and now Prasen is dead, and we don't know how he died, but we are sure Krishna must have done it. What kind of ungrateful behavior? And Krishna didn't say, oh, you ingrates, I'm leaving. He said, you know what? I'm going to clear my name because it's hurtful. But he didn't say I'm selling all of Dwarka, thankfully. He could have. He could have, like Jarasanda's been wanting it for a long time. Let him have it. He said, I'm going to go clear my name lovingly and return with a festival of sweetness for everyone involved. So don't give up. You're in the best company. Don't let the ingrates take over, because we need it more than anything.
Thank you so much. Mother Narayani, please unmute.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, we can hear
Um, Hare Krishna, Mother, for your wonderful lectures. My question goes to the other Prabhu that he was talking about, how whenever he's in town doing Sankirtan and people are doing different stuff, what I want to tell him is, whenever you're doing Sankirtan, you have to be in the mood, feel what you're doing. That's how people connect to you. Because when you are in the mood and you're feeling what the Kirtan and stuff, that's how you connect to people. So don't say you want to give it up because people are not giving you the attention, or people are not listening to you, or any other thing. But what you have to do, always focus on yourself and focus on the chanting. Because when you focus on yourself and you focus on the chanting, that's when you really connect to people. So that's the little thing I want to say to my other brother. Hare Krishna.
I think that's
Thank you,
important.
thank you. Yeah.
I think also it's important to remember that, sometimes what's hurtful is not that the outside people don't see it. What's hurtful is that the outside people and the inside people don't see it. The people close to you don't even see it. There were times my mom would sew for the deities, and she would sew an outfit. And the pujaris would put the outfit on, the festival would go, and they wouldn't say anything. No encouragement, no nothing. And she's thinking, I put so much of my heart, blood, sweat, tears, everything, staying up all night, literally. There'd be times she'd be piercing her fingers with a needle, all whatever. And no encouragement, no even good job. Not even from the outside people, okay, fine. But from my inside people. So I feel like it's important for us to come together in those spiritual rehab moments and say, Prem Samputa Prabhu, you're saving our lives. I don't know about anybody else, but you're saving our lives. And so you have to continue. And you may never hear it from the outside people, but it will be enough knowing that you're saving the lives of your family members.
Thank you so much, Mother ACYUTA GOPI. What you just said, you're saving the lives of your family members. That's one of the encouragements, or I should say, the force that gets me going, because my biological mother has passed on. And looking back at how my mother struggled to care for me, I have nothing else to do than to try to become a devotee, a proper devotee, so that I can, in effect, help her also. So it's not just about ourselves. There are so many people that also depend on us. So thank you. Like I said, you will be an excellent counselor. If you haven't thought of it, please consider it. Just get material, formal paper. You already have everything, but you need the formal paper, the credentials, to let people know that, yes, you are able to do it. It's excellent. I'm talking about Kirtan. 30th July is Gita Nagri, and we would love to have you, Mother ACYUTA GOPI.
I will tell you.
Hope you come in.
I will tell you a secret.
Please do.
On trying to come there.
Hare Krishna.
Just 2 days ago, I was talking with some of my family members, and we were talking about, I think we have to try and make it to Gitanagari Rathiaja. So I'm trying to plan to make it.
Thank you. There were a few things mentioned in the chat room by Mother Kalyani Tiwari. She said, amazing, never had like that kind of answer before to get Krishna. So again, talking about going in as a secret agent. And Isaac Yanka, I think that is Gopinath Prabhu. He said, Hare Krishna, we actually have to be watchful about our kirtans. Our mood in kirtan of late is worrying. We must talk more about it. So, thank you. Shriman Vara Prabhu, if you're there, we would like to hear from you, and then we'll bring the class to a close. Shriman Vara Prabhu, please. Let me see if he's still here.
And
okay,
thank you very much,
Hare Krishna.
Mother ACYUTA GOPI. Been very nice hearing you and drinking the nectar that is flowing and how you're touching everyone's heart. I'm very grateful. And we look forward to hearing from you again and again. Like Avikanapura said before, we missed your schedule sometimes back, and we really missed hearing from you. So thank you very much. All the devotees are actually grateful for sharing from the heart. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Shriman Vara Prabhu. I always love to hear from Shriman Vara Prabhu, because even though he's my senior god brother, but I see him like my guru, my mentor, because it's helped me so much along the way, and he continues to help me. So, I mean, how can we be ungrateful? Srila Prabhupada, Sri Krishna has given us so much ammunition to fight against Kali. Why should we be afraid? Not like Mother Chuta was saying, we don't have to be afraid of Kali once we take proper shelter of the holy name. Harichakra Prabhu, you will be the last person, and then we'll bring the class to a close. We have to let Mother Chuta go. She said she was a little ill. We hope you're doing much better now.
Definitely getting much better. And then,
Wonderful.
of course, then there are days when I realize that, oh, I'm still getting okay now.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Harichakra Prabhu, please unmute.
Yeah, thank you very much, ACYUTA GOPI.
Thank you.
I mean, that an analogy of going in as a secret agent, it almost blew my head off. I mean, it can be better than this.
Right?
Yeah. And again, when I heard about Lord Chaitanya telling someone that it's going to take you like 10,000 lifetimes, it just struck me. I was just thinking about it. I said, look, even in our day-to-day life, like if you want to go for a business interview and you actually appreciate the business that you are going for the interview, then it looks as it doesn't really matter how long you wait for the interview, as long as you hope that the interview will come on. You wait and you stay anxious waiting for the interview. And again, it's like the higher you go, it's like if you have to go see a U.S. senator, and he says, "Oh, give me 20 minutes." That 20 minutes will mean nothing to you because you know you are going. And what about going to see the president, the American president himself, and he tells you, "Oh, I'll be with you in 1 hour." That 1 hour will be nothing because you are saying, "Wow, he's going to give me an interview in 1 hour." The president of the United States. I mean, you will be so anxious. And so thinking about it, I just got the realization that maybe we don't even realize how big Krishna is. Because if we do, then why would we be worried about the waiting? And looking at what the scripture is talking about, Lord Brahma's one breath, Lord Vishnu's one breath is like 311 trillion years. So if Krishna is telling you to wait for only 10,000 lifetimes, that is nothing. It's not even like 1/4 of Lord Vishnu's breath. Like Krishna telling you, "Oh, give me a second. I'll be with you in 1 second." So it just hit me. This realization just hit me, and coupled with that analogy of going in as what do we call it?
Secret agent.
Secret agent. My goodness, that we all come from all angles and attack Krishna, and then Krishna will have nowhere to go. No matter how slippery he is, no matter how much he smears himself with butter, we are all over. We have circled around him. Where is he going to go? Then collectively we will be able to capture him.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be better than this. Thank you very much, Madam. Thank you.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. Krishna rubbing himself all over with butter and making himself so slippery. So it's very, very difficult, almost impossible for one person to grasp that mischievous little boy.
And he runs zigzag, he runs all over. He's crooked.
Yeah, he's always crooked.
The most amazing.
He wants us to be straight,
Yeah. Harichakra Prabhu's realization also sparked just the final realization that, you're saying if the president says, first, even if you contact the president says, "Sure, I'll meet with you. I'll give you a date," right? And you have a date that's 6 months in advance. Then when you get there, then the president, I'll give you, and give me 2 hours. We'll wait. We'll wait for an interview. We'll wait for whatever. We have faith in a president. We don't care about anything else. We'll wait for the date. We'll wait for the event. We'll wait for the interview. We'll wait for whatever. We put such faith in so many people, but not Krishna. We put faith in the employer at our job that they're going to pay me. They're going to do all the things they have to. We put faith in presidents that they're going to do what they say they're going to do, even though we know that a hallmark of the politician is that they're definitely not going to do the things that they said they're going to do. But we put our faith there. We put our faith in the doctor. We put our faith in the lawyer. We put our faith in so many people. And then we refuse to put it in Krishna. When Krishna says, in this just one moment, you can call out to me sincerely, I'll be there. We think, how can you convince me, Krishna? How are you going to really do that? How are you going to be here? So yeah, like you said, Hari Chakra Prabhu, yes. The same way that we would be eager and not care about the waiting if it was a high-ranking official. Krishna is the supreme high-ranking official. And just the same way that we would put our faith in an employer, that if I act correctly, my employer will pay me. If I surrender to Krishna, he will save me.
Thank you so much. Your analogies are all on point. I'll tell you, prior to today's class, I would have complained so bitterly to Krishna. Why 10,000 lifetimes? Why not now? But after listening to today's class, I'm just hoping that if Krishna should tell me that, I will wholeheartedly accept it. Even after hearing this, I will still be complaining. I say, Krishna, no, that is too far away. I'm tired of this world. No, I'm tired, please. All right, thank you so much. Salika Prabhu, are you still there? I want to bring the class to a close. It's been 2 hours. Mother Chita, we can't thank you enough for giving us your association. And it's beautiful. It's always beautiful when we have such rich sadhu sangha where we have the opportunity to talk about Krishna and hear about Krishna and his devotees. So
thank you all for my family.
Hare Krishna. Okay. All right. All right. Well, lots of thank you for such a beautiful and touching class. Thank you. This is from Mother Raja Tarini. And then from Premise Samputa, let's release Mother ACYUTA Gopi to go now. All right. Actually, we saw we captured you, so now we're going to release you. Now you were telling us how the secret of capturing Krishna. So we've been able to capture you today, and we're going to release you for a second. Now,
and I'll be back.
Yes, because you're going to be back. At this point, okay, Mother Kalyani, it says, thank you, Mataji, for this wonderful class. And I'm joining you from India, from Mathura. Wow, it's late. It's late.
Like 11 o'clock there or something, isn't it?
Thank you so much, Mother Kalyani. And please throw upon our crazy and dirty heads the dust of the dam. You know, today is cleaning the Gandicha temple. So please put all the dust on our head, you know, and by doing that, our hearts will be cleansed. Thank you for being here, Mother Kalyani, and everyone else. So at this point, we're going to follow our routine. Please kindly unmute, and then we chant biggest and the loudest Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Oh, Govinda Prabhu. Govinda Prabhu.
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay, Sade Prabhu. It's all right. I'll ask my question next time.
Next time. You mean next time Mother ACYUTA speaks or what?
Yes.
Okay, write it down for her.
This will make her to come back.
Yes, that will make her come back. So Mother ACYUTA, there's a question for you for today that has been pushed forward.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Vaishnav Thakur ki jai.
Jai.
All glories to Her Grace ACYUTA Gopi Das ki jai.
Dev Prabhu, please remind her. She has a question to answer. So
Yes,
we need to restrict her.
yes, yes. I'm going to be on her nerves. Yes.
Please.
Yes, please. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Bo.
Krishna.
So we see you all again tomorrow.
Atmaji, call me.
Okay, bro. Hare Bo.
Tomorrow is the last day of the first half of 2022. So let's